The month of May is still pretty packed with new mobile games every single day. Big ones, decent ones, of course some you will probably forget instantly. Hello friends, this is Mobile and today we're checking out over 30 new mobile games in May 2026 you need to try on Android and iOS. Alright, so first of all, coming in at number 1 with Ares the Iron Vanguard. And well, you might remember going by the name Ares Rise of Guardian. Well, here's the thing, you will now be able to have its English version out for a run. It's free, no need to pre-register, nothing, just download it in its open beta. Just keep in mind, it's still very much in that evolving stage, while still though plays like a full-on AAA. It's very much trying to hit that console-level mobile space where timing and combos matter instead of just autoplay spam. It is a little rough around the edges, of course, since it's beta, but the ambition is huge. Coming in at number 2 with Dead Be the Fallen. So still on the wraps, you can play the demo though. It's a black and white, as you can see, action-adventure first-person shooter set in this nightmare-looking prison where everything's pretty tight, quiet, and just basically wrong from the start. You've got a shotgun and whatever instinct kicks in with the objective to clear and trying to figure out what's actually going on around here. It's a pretty slow game, tense, and more about pressure and atmosphere than non-stop shooting. But when it hits, it really hits hard. At this point, I'm not even sure, I'm not gonna lie, that whether this is the same game we've been hyped for or not the past 4 years, but yeah. Warp Nights is apparently out on Android in English, finally, and still finding its way to the Apple Store in English, although it's available there, but not in English. Anyway, Warp Nights is one of those sci-fi tower defense RPGs. It's just not sit-back strategy type of game. It keeps you moving. Sort of like Watcher of Realms, where you're swapping between modes, doing runs, PvP, all that mix, so it never really stays in one rhythm for long. It's a free game, sits around 10 gigabytes, and this is actually real in-game footage. Now, Spirit Crossing took probably 2 years to land properly, and it's now finally sitting on the Google and the Apple Store via the official final Netflix membership, meaning it's out on mobile and still in the making for other consoles and PC, which is pretty huge. It's a huge win for mobile gaming. Spirit Crossing, for those of you who missed it, is a cozy and collaborative life sim MMO about building friendships, a community, where you and other players are basically maintaining a hub between worlds, helping spirits, and slowly shaping the area into something better. It's super relaxed, very social, and more about hanging out than any other kind of combat or pressure. Pretty good game. Zombie Patrol, on another hand, feels like someone grabbed a zombie shooter, injected it with energy drinks, I guess, and said, well, good luck. See, everything's pretty fast. Bosses get to mutate into literal abominations mid-fight, and half your survival depends on just not panicking like a supermarket employee during a Black Friday. The real hook in this game is experimenting with different heroes and, the ridiculous builds you get to build until you accidentally create some walking apocalypse by yourself. It is still an alpha, sure, but there's already enough nonsense here to keep you entertained for days. Pretty good game. With that being said, Retro Rewind is, technically speaking, you running a 90s video store and slowly also realizing that you're the cleaner, the cashier, the organizer, and the person that's fixing everyone else's mess. But the game does have, polish and real thought behind it. It gets a little repetitive at times, in a calming way though, like looping small tasks with the shop slowly getting bigger, nicer, and a bit more alive over time. This is the kind of game you can play with the movie on in the background. You do want to play the game with your Wi-Fi off, otherwise you're going to get bombarded with ads. It is an online game, in fact. Number 7, we've got Five Nights at Shrek's. So, literally the meme turned into a survival horror loop where you're stuck inside this weird hotel trying to make it through 5 nights without getting caught. So at first it feels almost normal, just you walking around, whatever, but it slowly shifts into that, okay, something's actually off here kind of vibe, and Shrek goes from pretty chill to straight up unpredictable, and you're there hoping you don't even run into him. Pretty simple game, it's a bit goofy, but still really manages to land that hide and seek feeling the original PC port delivered.
Attack! Don't back off! Run!
I'm not really sure, this took probably 4 years of just non-stop developer work, but for those of you who prior to this couldn't get hands on it, War Legends is now available on both stores globally, although the iOS version's still in beta. So yeah, anyway, look, War Legends is just one of those games that feels like you're behind the moment the match just starts. There's heroes, spells, all that stuff, but in the moment it's just you reacting fast and hoping your army actually does what you planned. So it feels super clean and super satisfying, gives you all and even more of that Warcraft charm pretty much all along the way. Coming in at number 9 with ETE Shattered Skie. Now prior to this, the game was called ETE Chronicles. Now for those of you who missed it, it's a sci-fi action RPG set in this corporate war future where mega companies basically replace governments and everything runs on these experimental robots. So the gameplay goes between action heavy and slower progression stuff, so it's not just constant shooting, it's more layered than that. Big install, a big system, very mobile AAA energy, and just a ton of customization right on the side. Plus, new systems where you can actually build and tweak your own space. Number 10 with Rebellion NPC Survival. And here's the thing, the whole idea with this game, which is kind of wild in a cool way also, is that it's set in a world where all the real players are basically gone, and you're left with NPCs trying to keep things going like nothing collapsed in the first place. On top of all that, it still plays like a proper RPG, so you've got team builds, formations, traits, all that stuff actually changing how fights go instead of just numbers going up. It's got raids, dungeons, progression layers, but that setup makes it feel a bit more interesting than the usual. Little Singham 2 World Hero just came out way after years of development, and it takes that classic endless running and stretches it way more. Well, of course you're still running, but now it doesn't stop there. Between runs, you're building out your own hero, upgrading, unlocking new setups, basically turning your progression into a base you actually shape. The movement feels smoother, more responsive, and the new environments keep it pretty fresh instead of repetitive. It is still pretty simple at core, it's just got more stuff to keep coming back for. Heavenly Demon and the Three Kingdoms to me, felt like somebody threw Dynasty Warriors, the Chinese novels, and Idle Kingdom sims into just one giant pot, and somehow it worked. So you're basically an overpowered martial arts monster, rebuilding an entire cult while smacking legendary Three Kingdoms generals across the battlefield. The fun part is how ridiculous the power fantasy gets, like one second you're managing villains and recruiting heroes, next second you're deleting armies. Weird combo, honestly, but weird in a very entertaining way overall as well. At number 13, Saloon Life Sim is almost self-explained, of course. It's basically you running a beauty shop where half the job is just actually doing saloon stuff and the other half is trying to keep everything stocked so customers don't stare at empty shelves. So yeah, you're cutting hair, doing nails, taking payments, rushing back to organize products before all the chaos. It's pretty chill, almost looped like a retail routine game, but in a weirdly satisfying way as well. Nothing complicated, it's just a full-on business grind. Clay Jam is, on the other hand, a pretty classic good old Neverhood. One of those games that's just handmade enough to make you go back in time. So everything's actually clay, and you're rolling this squishy little ball down hills, just smashing into bugs, choosing paths and growing bigger as things escalate down the line. Pretty simple game in concept, but really satisfying once it gets moving. Nothing complicated, it's just arcade, tactile fun with a weirdly cozy feel to it. It is, though, $2.99, sitting on both the Google and the Apple Store right now. It's also playable offline. Coming up behind that at number 15 with Kinikuniko. So yeah, Super Muscle Cat, which is just basically a love letter to old school animes wrapped inside a 2D platformer where you're like controlling a ridiculously buff cat beating up aliens for no reason other than just pure style. It's not trying to be massive or over complex, it just leans hard into charm, jokes, and that retro anime energy. Pretty simple game. Levels are straightforward, but what carries it is personality, cutscenes, the music, and just that constant, this is kinda dumb but fun feel. Demon Hunter, however, feels like old school Doom got trapped inside a mobile grinder and designed to hit a sweet nostalgia spot. Like, you're shooting demons through castles and caves while stacking upgrades until your character turns into an unstoppable nightmare. In fact, the retro 2.5 dimension look gives it that crunchy boomer shooter vibe, but the loot and build system keeps things surprisingly addictive as well. Like, one run you're just this speedy glass cannon, next run you're basically an armored fridge. And for like 150 megabytes, this thing packs way more action than it expected. Evil Doll, on another hand, is, in this case today, Chapter 2, one of those games where you're like basically for no reason creeping through a house where you're not supposed to, trying to not make noise. Because, of course, well, you can clearly see why. So yeah, this doll thing doesn't feel dumb either. It actually reacts to what you do, so you end up second guessing every move. It's mostly walking, hiding, and the constant don't get caught tension sitting on your shoulders the whole time. Simple setup, but it's the kind of game that does keep your focus pretty locked. World Reborn, however, sort of feels less like a game you grind, more like something you dip into when you've got a few minutes and just want to feel a little grounded. You hop in, make choices, build a character, and choose how things unfold as you go. But it never really rushes you or throws pressure. It's more about small decisions stacking up over time with this calm little mix of RPG bits and light narrative flow that keeps it easy to just keep coming back to without overthinking about it. It's an online game, about 250 megabytes in total. Going up to number 19 with Misfits. In fact, this is a PvP, well, sort of an extraction shooter, but also a MOBA, where you're in just to steal loot and survive long enough to leave with it, and dealing with real players who might help you or just instantly betray you. So it's got that extraction shooter tension, because if you die you lose everything, and it's just all constant risk, quick fights, and try not to get greedy at the wrong time. It's an online game, of course, about 700 megabytes in total. Moving down to number 20 with this game called All Firing. One of those anime RPGs that could actually get lost in the crowd, but is really trying a few things good in a way to stand out. So you've got that usual character collecting setup, the chibi visuals, a flashy fantasy atmosphere, but the twist is just how it plays out. Side-scrolling combat with on-the-fly character switching, where you get to chain combo between 3 different units like a sort of a mini team fight, and the voxel style vibe and the puzzles do make it a little bit unexpected. Still very familiar, but enough little differences to keep it different. Number 21 with Itsy Bitsy Spider Adventures, and it's basically a super simple kids game. However, it's also built around nursery rhythms turned into little different mini games. Pretty light game, pretty clean. More about rhythm and playful interactions than actual challenge. It's just a bunch of small bite-sized games wrapped in that nursery rhythm vibe. The kind of game where nothing ever feels complicated or stressful, although you might want to skip this thing because it's not a free game, takes you $4.99. Lumi Master or Lumi Masters actually been in the making for months and already hit 2 betas. It's now finally out on Android and iOS. It's a collectible RPG game set in this super calm world where you're just wandering around catching these little creatures called Lumis and all that at your own pace. There's no pressure, no rush, just exploring. And as you play, you start evolving and getting stronger, and back at your home, these Lumis are basically running things while you're out there on the hunt. It's a pretty chill game, very low stress, and it keeps progressing in the background while you do your thing. It's a free game, it's online, about 0.5 gigabytes in total. Number 23, we've got Crawl Tactics. In fact, this one's a very proper turn-based brain mode sort of game where anything you do really matters instead of just tapping and hoping you made the right choice there. That's right, it's a tactical RPG, which means your actions matter more than you might even imagine. So it's not just dungeon crawling, it's this slow tactical loop of planning, fighting, and rebuilding again. Pretty good pixel art, deep replay value, just one problem, it is not a free game, it'll take you $9.99. Time Attack Racing is basically you, the car, and this timer that's judging your entire existence at all times. It's a casual racing runner sort of game with no shortcuts, just clean driving, and you try not to mess up a corner that ruins your entire run. Pace says you're basically replaying the same track over and over, chasing that almost perfect lap. The physics are pretty grounded, it's got a pretty simple setup, and further down the line gets oddly addictive once you start chasing better runs. Free game, it's also playable offline. Coming up behind that at number 25, we've got this little game over here called Huntress. It's a puzzle mystery game set in this quiet, slightly unsettling little room where everything looks normal until you actually start interacting with it. Like you're poking around, dragging objects, combining random stuff, trying to figure out what even counts as a clue, because it's, well, you know, it's a puzzle game. So it's just you and that slow tension. Pretty minimal game, a bit surreal, quite actually very focused on observation more than anything else. Going even further, number 26, we've got Blade Right Rival. This one over here is a battle royale where nobody's even using guns. Everyone just decided it's hands-on instead. The game is all close combat, you know, dodging, parrying, reading people's moves like a fighting game instead of a shooter. There's no hiding for long either. Matches are pretty short, so it constantly pushes you into fights whether you're ready or not. Besides, it feels more like a melee arena brawler, which is sort of wrapped inside a battle royale than anything traditional per se. Soul Huntress, however, is one of those roguelike runs where you just drop in, pick a weapon, and just see how far you can push. You know, randomly build dungeons, traps, loots, enemies to keep shifting and escalating as you go. It's also got that clean action RPG feel, and runs change depending on what you build. Simple setup, but it also hits that addictive loop of one more run pretty hard. Free game, it's offline, it's out now on Android and iOS. It does also have a premium version. Going down to number 28, we've got Backpack Battles, which, as simple as it might look, this game turns inventory management into like a full-blown addiction. Removing a banana, 2 squares left somehow decides your entire future. It looks harmless, but then suddenly you're there about 3 hours deep, calculating item synergies like a sleep-deprived scientist is running experiments inside a backpack. Everyone becomes a puzzle of greed, space, combinations. It's not really about the action, it's just pure brain rot strategy. Anyway, if your favorite part of RPGs was organizing loot, congratulations, because this game owns you already completely. The only problem is that it's not a free game, it takes you $9.99. Now, Roguelike, on the other hand, is a sort of basic dungeon crawler where you don't really walk though. Instead, you get to slide across grids and everything else happens off that movement. You're bumping into enemies to attack them, grabbing loot by merging into them, and just pushing deeper room by room. It's got that simple, almost board game feel, but the tension comes from every single slide that you take. Because it's like one wrong move, and the whole thing just starts falling apart fast. Check it out, it does actually have a free playable demo. Number 30, we have Infinite Train. Infinite Train is actually a bullet hell in the sense that turning a moving train into a war machine while it never stops moving. Probably a little bit inspired by the movie Snowpiercer. Anyway, you start small, grabbing resources and stacking upgrades onto the train like you're building a fortress with it. Runs are pretty short, but it's also got that one more run loop to see how far the train can actually survive before it all collapses. Number 31, we've got basketball games for kids. And this one's basically basketball if it was powered entirely by cartoons and toddler energy. So there's no pressure, no sweaty competition, no grown man screaming at referees. It's just courts, colorful, goof, and little players launching rainbow basketballs like future NBA legends and training. Everything's super simple too, so even tiny little kids can jump in without struggling. I would say it's a pretty wholesome little time-killing sort of game for younger kids. It's free. At number 32, we've got Merchant of the Skies. Merchant of the Skies actually throws you in this airship and wants you to try to turn these sky islands into profits and pretend you're running an empire while you're basically just making deliveries all day. So you buy stuff cheap, sell it higher, slowly start building this little sky empire that grows as you go. There ain't no combat, no stress spikes, just calm trading loops and upgrading your routes. Pretty simple game, it is cozy and weirdly addictive as well once the money starts stacking up. And last but not least, at number 33 we've got Dot Design, The Night Shift, which I want to say it feels like someone mixed a horror game with a YouTube skit, and it kind of works like way better than expected. You start here in this haunted little school, getting chased by ghosts, and you're gonna be finding all sorts of random objects like onions and cans and whatever, and throw them at the ghosts to escape. Like your survival basically depends on stupidity. Sort of a comedy game. The comedy doesn't even stop, but so there's the jump scares. And for 33 megabytes, this thing has more personality than like half the free horror games on Android and iOS. Thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again tomorrow.